Hi guys, welcome to another food prep. I am getting a late start this afternoon. It's Monday afternoon, so I won't get everything done today. I'm going to get like the longer term things and the things that I need for tonight and tomorrow night done. And then tomorrow, hopefully tomorrow afternoon, I can get the rest done. So I'll go over my list and see what we got to do first. Alright, so I'll go ahead and show you my to-do list. So my meal plan, I'm going to have grilled steak salad, so that's just a green salad with grilled steak on top. So I want to make a marinade and marinate the steak for at least a couple hours before I grill it this evening. I want to go ahead and clean up all the veggies for the salad and go ahead and make the salad, so I just have to put the grilled meat on top. We're also going to have corn on the cob on the side, so I'm going to partially shuck the ears of corn and we'll throw those on the grill. Tomorrow night for Tuesday, we're going to have grilled chicken and corn salad. So I want to make some mayo that's needed for the dressing for the corn salad. I also want to roast some red bell peppers that will go in the corn salad, and then those roasted red peppers we'll use later on the week when I make some wraps. Wednesday is galbitang, that's Korean beef short rib stew or soup, and I'm gonna pressure cook the short ribs. So the original recipe is a Mangchi recipe, and she boils them for like a couple hours. So I usually just use the pressure cooker, so that makes it really quick. Thursday we're gonna make chicken soup, so I'm gonna make some stock. I have part of the carcass. I got some chicken feet which I can use to make my stock. Friday we're gonna have hummus avocado wraps, so I want to make tortillas. I want to sprout some alfalfa. I got clover seeds and alfalfa seeds, but I think I'm gonna do alfalfa since I think that's one of the easier seeds. And then I'm gonna soak some chickpeas, so soak and hopefully sprout some chickpeas that I can use to make the hummus. Saturday is meatball subs. I have the meatballs, the sauce, and the bread already prepared. I made hamburger buns last week, so I have another set of those in the freezer that I'm going to use to make these meatball subs. I have the meatballs and the sauce in the freezer from several weeks ago. So that meal, I don't have to do anything, and that's going to be Saturday. So I will need to pull the bread out of the freezer and bake it, but I don't really have to do any prep for that, so that should be an easy meal. And then Sunday is the pork verde, chili verde. So I'm going to go ahead and blend up the sauce, and then I'm going to put that in the freezer. So, oh, my list is getting wetter and wetter. Some water on my counter. The only other thing I want to do this week is make a loaf of bread. I made almond milk last night, so I have that already done. So the first thing I'm going to do is the marinade, because I want to get that meat marinating since we're going to have it tonight. I want to give it as much time as possible. And the marinade that I use is kind of an eyeballed recipe. It's actually, my husband makes it this way, and red wine vinegar is kind of the secret ingredient. So I'm going to put some red wine vinegar. I don't have very much, so I might have to use something else. Oh, haha, I have some more red wine vinegar. Excellent. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix up the marinade, and something I've never tried before, but is a good way to quick marinate something, is to put it under vacuum. So I'm going to maybe try to vacuum seal up this meat in the marinade and see if I can get some good flavors in there. So pretty much red wine vinegar and olive oil is a lot of this marinade, and then it's got like garlic powder and salt and pepper, and I think he puts some herbs. I'm not exactly sure what he does. I usually just eyeball it. Maybe like a half a cup of red wine vinegar and half a cup of olive oil, some granulated garlic, salt and pepper. Put a couple tablespoons of honey. My honey is crystallized, but it'll be fine. It'll dissolve right in there. Maybe 1 to 2 tablespoons of honey. Be a nice caramelization on the meat when it's grilled. The last ingredient is some finely minced cilantro stems. A lot of times I pull just the leaves off, but the stems have a lot of flavor. So, alright, so I have my flank steak in the vacuum seal bag. I'm going to pour the marinade in, and then see if I can vacuum seal this. Alright, I don't think I did a very good job. It's not very vacuum sealed, but at least it has a lot of good contact with the meat. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put this in the fridge because I have probably about an hour and a half But I'll pull it out of the refrigerator a half an hour before I grill it. So when I start the grill, I'll pull this out and hopefully it will be delicious and marinated. I think I'm also going to make a salad dressing to go with the salad. And I think I'm going to pretty much use the same flavors I use in the marinade. I'm just going to cut way back on the vinegar since you don't want your salad dressings that strong. And instead of doing the cilantro stems, I'm going to go ahead and just do some torn cilantro leaves. So I'm just going to roughly tear these up because some of them are kind of big. And then I'm going to do a mix of olive oil and grapeseed oil because this olive oil has a pretty strong taste for me, so the grapeseed oil is a little bit lighter for a salad dressing. And then I'll go ahead and do garlic powder, salt and pepper, and I'll do the honey too, so just a little bit of honey. So just enough honey to balance the vinegar. And I'll probably just leave this in the measuring cup and use it for our salads tonight. Okay, so for the corn, I'm going to grill the corn. So I'm going to take some of the outer husk off because these drier ones will catch on fire. So I peel off the outer layer, or the ones that are darker green, until you get to this lighter green that's kind of wetter. And so I'll peel off anything that I think might catch on fire, and then if there's a long tail like this, I just snap that off. And then I'm going to open it to get the silk. So I just kind of try to open it carefully and get as much of the silk off as I can. And honestly, I usually do this outside because it makes kind of a mess with all the silks. So once you peel back and remove the silks as much as you can, then I just close it back up like this. And then what you can also do is take a piece of the husk and wrap it around like this, kind of keep the top closed. Because as it grills, the husk will keep the corn kernels from getting burnt. It'll kind of like steam inside its own husk like this. And I usually grill it on the indirect side so it doesn't get a lot of direct heat. But some places, like this, will start to shrink back, and some places like right here, when this will shrink back, this might get a little blackened, but a little blackened is good. You just don't want the whole thing blackened. So by the time it's tender enough, this outside will be really dark and burnt, but the inside will be juicy and succulent. Okay, so I have my corn all ready to go on the grill when I fire that up. And then over here, I was just washing some lettuce from the garden. And I'm also gonna wash the spinach. So I'm gonna do a mix of lettuce and spinach for our salads tonight. Alright, so I'll just start making our salad since I'll probably use up all of this lettuce. And I have dinner tonight, so my husband and myself, and my little one for dinner tonight, and then my husband's lunch I'll take to work, my little one and myself for lunch tomorrow, which I'll just put in the fridge. We'll eat here at home. So I'll just divide this lettuce among each of these containers. So I'm going to go ahead and make mayonnaise tonight, even though I don't need it tonight. My husband sometimes likes to put it on his corn on the cob, so I have a whole video showing how to make mayonnaise. But in here I have an egg yolk and some Dijon mustard. And usually these days I just eyeball everything, but all the ingredients are on that recipe. So there's my mayonnaise. I'm just going to put it in a mason jar just to keep it in the fridge. Alright, so since I have this all kind of messed up anyway, I'm going to go ahead and make the salad dressing for the corn salad. So that will be ready to go. I'm scaling this back a little bit and I'm going to kind of just eyeball it. But I'll link the original recipe. It's a Food Wishes recipe. So I got mayonnaise, red wine vinegar. I'm glad I had a little extra. And some olive oil. Just a little bit of sugar. Some cayenne. It also calls for Italian herbs. I'm just going to put some oregano leaves and maybe some parsley leaves in the salad, so I'll do that tomorrow. So I'll just go ahead and mix this up. The hand blender is probably overkill, but since it was ready and available and dirty anyway, I went ahead and used that. Alright, so I'm going to get some things on to soak, and then I'm going to wash a few of the produce, especially the things that are going to spoil quickly if I don't get them cleaned up. And then that's all I'm going to have time to do today. Soak the chickpeas for the hummus. So that was 2 cups of dried chickpeas. And then I got these seeds. I got these off of Amazon. I got alfalfa sprout seeds and clover sprout seeds. And I've never done this before, so I'm kind of curious about the difference between the two of them. So I'm going to do just a little bit of each of them. So the directions say to do 2 to 3 tablespoons. I think I'm just going to do 1 tablespoon of each, and then I can use them both. That way I can kind of see what each of them is like, do sort of a side-by-side comparison. Put plenty of water in those jars. So, clover, alfalfa. And I'm going to store these actually in the freezer, which is recommended, since these are 8-ounce packages, which it's going to last me a long time, so I'm going to put these ones in the freezer. Alright, so I just have a little bit of produce to clean up, and then I'll be done for the day. But I wanted to show you, these are the scallions I have left over from last week, and the ends and some of the greens got a little dried out. I wasn't super diligent about keeping them wrapped up, but they're doing a lot better than they would have done otherwise, so I can still use these this week. I just gotta kind of trim off those dried out parts. So I'm gonna clean up my new scallions that I bought, and I'll just put them in with the other ones. And I'm going to change that water. I've changed it a few times over the course of the week. Not every day. Probably every day would be ideal, but every 2 or 3 days. I'm also going to go ahead and rinse and wash these soybean sprouts that I bought. You really should use sprouts within a day or so of buying them, and if you're going to use them the next day, you should rinse them, and if you're going to use them in 2 days, you should rinse them every day, because they go bad really quickly. So I'll just rinse these and then pack them up with a cloth in the bottom of the container like I usually do. I'm also going to wash up my cilantro. Again, that I packed up really nicely last week. I got a bunch last week, and it's still alright. But I went ahead and got some more, just in case it wasn't. I'll go ahead and give that a quick rinse, spin, and pack it up as well. So, red peppers. I'm actually going to roast these tonight on the grill when I grill the flank steak. So I'm just going to take their stickers off and scrub the outside. Alright, I'm actually going to put them right in this bowl, because this is the bowl I'll put them in after I grill them. To make the roasted red peppers, you just want to char the pepper on all of the surfaces. So you want a direct flame, so either a gas grill or over the direct heat of a charcoal grill or under a broiler. You want to get them blackened and blistered on all surfaces. Then you need to steam them. So some people put them in paper bags or plastic bags or some kind of container that you can close up tight, so the heat that's coming off the pepper kind of gets trapped and it steams them. So that gets them nice and soft. It also helps the skin come off easily. So I usually just put them in this bowl, cover it with a plate, and then just let them sit in that bowl, and they'll steam in their own sort of juices. And then once they're cooled down till you can handle them, probably room temperature, then you just take your fingers and kind of rub off that blackened skin and pull them apart, take that seed pod out of the middle, and then you can just pack them up and put them in the refrigerator until you need them. Okay, so it's Tuesday now, and I actually got a lot more done yesterday than I thought. I was going to be able to, so I'm in really good shape. But what I'm doing now is I'm getting some bread to rise. So this is, I make a big batch of bread dough, I form the loaves, and then I stick it in the freezer. And this one kind of got deformed and is not going to fit in my pan. So I cut the end off, so hopefully it fits now. So I'm going to let this rise and thaw. I do it in my microwave, which I show all the time. Just microwave a cup of water. It makes it hot and steamy inside the microwave so that it can thaw and rise relatively quickly without getting a dry skin on the surface. So I'll go ahead and show you what it looks like before I get ready to put it in the oven. So this is the end that I cut off the loaf of bread. I'm going to put it to thaw and rise too. It'll probably thaw a lot quicker since it's smaller, and then I can shape it into a roll or something, and then I'll bake it right alongside the other bread just so that it doesn't go to waste. Next on the agenda is stock. So I'm going to use my pressure cooker. I have two different stocks. I'm going to start with the chicken because that will take a lot less time. And this is frozen. What's in this container is the carcass of a roasted chicken. There's also the back from the chicken. I had cut it out because I spatchcocked the chicken. So I'm just going to put these in the pressure cooker. I also got chicken feet. Since there's not that much there to make a stock from, I have these chicken feet that I pick up at the farm. You can also buy them in regular grocery stores a lot of times. They give a really, really great flavor, and they're usually really inexpensive, so they're a great thing to use to make stock with. So I'm going to add about a quart of water, I guess. See how that looks. One of the great things about using a pressure cooker is you don't have to fully cover everything when you're making a stock, so you can actually end up with a really concentrated stock if you don't have to add a ton of extra water, which is especially good if you're going to freeze your stock. That way you're not filling up your freezer space with just water. You can reconstitute it later. But I'm going to just bring this up to pressure, and I'll probably pressure cook it about 10 minutes or so after it comes up to pressure. Okay, so while that's cooking, I'm going to drain and rinse all of my seeds. So I have my sprouting seeds, alfalfa and clover, and also my garbanzo beans. Okay, so now I'm going to cover these up, and last time I did 3 separate cloths and they made a lot of extra laundry for me. So I'm going to try to do it this way with one big towel. See how that turns out. Alright, so they look like. Just let them sit on the counter until they start to sprout. Alright, next I'm going to make the tortillas, and I have a video on my channel how to make sourdough tortillas, but I'm making these ahead. I've never made the sourdough tortillas that far ahead, and I'm just afraid that they'll just sour and become too sour, so I'm going to use a recipe that I was using previously, and this is just using baking powder. So if you can see that, it's 2 cups of whole wheat flour, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, half a teaspoon of salt, 2 teaspoons of olive oil, half a cup of water. And I'm going to mix that all together. So I have all my dry ingredients in. Go ahead and put my 2 teaspoons of olive oil in. And the water. Just go ahead and start to stir that together. I took the chicken stock. I took the pressure cooker off of the heat, and I'm just letting it come down to pressure naturally, which means I'm not using the quick release. I'm just letting it cool to come down in pressure, and then it will release. I'm going to add just another tablespoon of water, I think. Alright, so I added 2 additional tablespoons of water, and kind of have a shaggy dough here, but that's fine. You don't need to worry about that so much, because as this rests, the flour will hydrate, and then when we go to roll this out, it will be perfectly fine. So that's what it looks like. I'm just going to pack it up into a container and put it in the refrigerator. And because I used baking powder, this won't start to rise until it hits heat. So this can just kind of stay and wait for me until Friday. So I'll just put it, should fit in that container pretty well. Okay, tortilla dough. Alright, so my chicken stock is cooled off enough that the pressure came down. So I'm going to strain it, and then I will pour it into a plastic container, or you can use a mason jar. And I'm going to put this in the freezer because I don't need it for a couple days. And the rest of the chicken and the drippings are in the freezer anyway, so I'll just put that together. Okay, so now that the chicken stock is out of the way, I can work on my beef rib stock. And first you have to blanch the short ribs. So I'll put those in. I'm going to cover them with some water, and I'm just going to blanch them, boil them for 10 minutes. So now the short ribs have blanched for 10 minutes. I'm going to drain them and wash out the pot to get any of this scummy stuff off of the pot, and then I will put them back in the pot and we'll add some water, radish, and onions. And I'm just going to pressure cook it for probably about 20 to 25 minutes. Alright, and I think the last thing I'm doing is my green chili salsa. So I have tomatillos, and to clean these, you just peel off the paper husk, and then you have to wash these because they have sort of a sticky residue on them. The sticky residue doesn't ever really seem to fully come off, so just kind of do the best you can. I'm going to put them in here, give them a quick rinse after I peel them all. So to make the tomatillo green chili verde sauce, you put the tomatillos in. If these were any bigger, I'd probably quarter them just so that they blend easily, but you can also use a food processor. I have a jalapeno that I took all the seeds out of. I'm going to add some coriander, some cumin, some garlic, oregano, and cilantro. A little bit of water just to get it going. And I'll take this over to the blender and blend it up. Okay, so there is the green salsa verde, whatever you want to call it, all ready to go. Go ahead and put this in a container, and I won't need this till Sunday, so I'll go ahead and put this in the freezer. Pull it out when I pull the meat out to thaw. Alright guys, that's everything for this week. Hope you enjoyed it. See you next time. Bye!